Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for being with us here tonight. My name is Jake Galloway, and I serve as Director of Membership at MSA, and I'm very excited about the conversation we are about to embark on. Just a little bit of framing for our panel tonight, if I can. As many of you know, Egypt's private education sector is growing rapidly, nearly doubling student enrollment over the past 5 years. And this growth is very likely to continue. By some estimates, folks are saying that by 2030, Cairo alone will require nearly 1 million new private school seats. This signals a significant opportunity and significant challenges for school leaders. How can schools effectively prepare students for an increasingly competitive university admissions process? As institutions expand, how can school leaders maintain quality teaching and learning? And with more education options available to parents, how can schools clearly and compellingly differentiate themselves? MSA is dedicated to helping Egyptian school leaders meet these challenges. In the coming months, our organization will open an office in Egypt to facilitate our support for this community. We're thrilled by the reception we've received thus far, and we look forward to strengthening our relationship with school leaders across the country for many years to come. MSA offers a suite of resources designed to inspire wise change, but today's conversation will explore specifically how MSA accreditation can help school leaders address some of their most pressing challenges. Positioning graduates for university success, enhancing faculty engagement, building trust with families, and clearly standing out in Egypt's competitive market. In our conversation today, I'll be joined by an esteemed panel of school leaders who will share their experiences and insights on the impact of MSA accreditation. As I introduce them, I'd like to invite each of you in the audience to share a little bit about yourselves. So if you can, please share your name, your school, your city, and something you would love to walk away from this conversation with. Your name, your school, your city, and something you'd like to walk away from this conversation with. It'll help us as folks who are up here on the panel get to know who it is we are speaking with, and really kind of orient the conversation around what's most important for you. So thank you in advance for sharing a little bit more about that. And without further ado, I would love to introduce our first panelist, Dr. Selma El-Bakari. Welcome, Dr. Selma. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Jake, very much. Thank you for this wonderful introduction.
Wonderful. So, Dr. Selma is a visionary educator and chairperson of New Generation International American Schools with decades of experience advancing quality education in Egypt. She holds a PhD with the highest honors from Cairo University, focusing on the role of foreign education in shaping Egyptian students. Dr. Selma has founded several influential organizations, including Education First Foundation and Aston British International Schools, and serves on prominent national boards such as the National Investment Fund for Education, the Egyptian Food Bank, and the National Council for Education, Research, and Innovation under Egypt's presidency. Her leadership continues to shape educational policy, promote innovation, and inspire transformative partnerships nationally and globally. So Dr. Selma, it is really just a pleasure for you to be with us this evening, and really looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Jake.
Wonderful.
Thank you for this wonderful introduction. I'm very happy and honored to be one of the panels in this webinar.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Our next panelist is Dr. Ahmed Fayed. So Dr. Ahmed is the CEO of Modern Schools of Egypt, Egyptian group, overseeing 4 schools that serve collectively more than 5,000 families in Cairo. Following his PhD, Dr. Fayed was a visiting fellow at the University of Cambridge. He has taught and conducted research at King's College London and the American University in Cairo. Dr. Fayed's research focuses on educational policy and local governance across the Middle East, with a particular emphasis on Egypt. So Dr. Fayed, wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. Thank you very much, Jake, for such a wonderful invitation. And thank you very much for your kind words. And it's an honor to be part of this panel and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And our third panelist who will be joining us this evening is Dr. Lena Lewis. So Dr. Lena is a seasoned educational leader with over 25 years of experience in international school leadership, accreditation, and strategic reform. She has served as Chief Academic Officer at the Riyadh Schools Platform MISC Foundation and held senior roles with Ta'alim UAE and leading accrediting bodies including MSA-CESS and the IB. She currently serves as MSA's Associate Vice President for International Accreditation and works with all of MSA's Egyptian schools. So Dr. Lena, thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Jake. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Dr. Selma and Dr. Ahmed, I'm very curious to learn more about your stories, and I'm hopeful that our conversation this evening will cover a few main areas. The first being your school community's life pre-MSA accreditation. The second being your experience undergoing MSA accreditation. And third is really your community's life post-MSA accreditation, and understanding what impact this process has had. And Dr. Lena, you work with all of our schools in Egypt, all of our schools internationally, really. And so I'm really excited to hear more about your perspective, things you've seen, things you've learned about the impact that MSA accreditation has had on these institutions. So without further ado, I would love to get into the conversation. And our first question tonight is going to be for you, Dr. Salma. I'm wondering what first piqued your interest in accreditation? What was something you were hoping to achieve for your community by an accreditation process? Oops. Can you hear me, Dr. Salma?
Is that, yes, I can. I can hear you very well. I can hear you.
Great.
Can you?
Okay. Yes, I think you froze for a moment, but we're back on.
Okay. I hope everything works well because I just let go of the IT tech guy. So let me start by telling you a very short story that reached our interest with MSA. We started thinking of the school 2003, 2004, right after the discussion of my PhD dissertation, which focuses on the role of foreign education with Egyptian students. Does it change the values, the opinion, the beliefs, the attitude of Egyptian students? Does foreign education have? So that was one thing. We decided to open the school August 2005. We got the MOE license. We got accredited from one of the international accreditation body that serves most of the schools here in Egypt. And then after like 8 years, we said we want something different. We want to have better teacher performance in order to get better student performance. And we really started, I personally had, started searching and asking around, and then MS recommended in order to do this, what we had in mind, what intrigued us is to improve the performance of teachers and hence the students. And I also had a personal challenge because when I asked then in 2016, 15, 16, they told us you cannot get MSA accreditation because they need to have a certain percentage of foreign teachers in the school in order for you to be able to apply. I will apply with the Egyptian students, with the Egyptian teachers, and see where we go with such an. So we started to search for this, accrediting body that turned out to be MSA, because we really wanted to stand out and we really wanted to raise the bar. The aim here was very clear. One, I really wanted to improve the standard of teachers and hence the classroom. And number two, I really wanted an accreditation that sets us apart from other mainstream accrediting bodies. And hence, our school was, I think, the 8th or the 9th in Egypt, from the first 10 schools to be accredited by MSA in Egypt.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that story, Dr.
So,
Salma.
accreditation really means you're welcome.
Wonderful, wonderful. So it sounds like, Dr. Salma, this idea of improving teacher performance so as to improve student performance was really important to you, as well as being able to stand out, being able to indicate to families, to community leaders that our school is different. We're doing things a little bit different. Those were two things that really drew you to look for this question of to I think look for a different accreditor, which is fantastic to hear. Dr. Ahmed, I would love to give the question to you, and would love to hear more about your community's journey in terms of, when you first started looking for accreditation. What were some of the challenges you were hoping to solve?
Okay, first of all, our story is very similar to Dr. Salma's story. So simply, we wanted to hold ourselves accountable to a higher standard. We all knew in our school that MSA is the gold standard of accreditation globally. And we knew we can easily achieve the requirements and the standards. And if there's something that we cannot achieve, they will help us to achieve, and thus they will help us be at a better place and be a better school. Not only a better school for us, but a better school for our students, for our parents, for our teachers, for the entire stakeholders. And this is actually the main reason why we wanted to be part of MSA. It's not actually to solve a problem, rather than for us, because we saw a great opportunity of us strengthening our processes and becoming better. We know we're good, but we always know there's always room for improvement. And if we don't hold ourselves to a higher standard, and if we don't keep on pushing ourselves to something that's much better, then we will be lagging behind. But again, as something you definitely touch upon along the conversation here, is how competitive the market currently is in Egypt, and this is something you shed the light on at the beginning with the numbers, saying that again, numbers are increasing, which is true, but also the number of schools opening is increasing. So this is why, as Dr. Salma said, you always need to be ahead. You always need to keep on pushing yourself. You always need to keep on strengthening your performance and ensuring that your processes are actually in place, and your numbers actually keep on getting better day by day and year over year. So mostly this is our story.
Amazing. This idea that continual improvement is one of the many ways that it sounds like, Dr. Ahmed, you and your schools are standing out in this marketplace, right? That there are lots of different options, but that being able to continually refine our program helps us move forward. And I imagine that being able to go to parents and say, look, we are learning and growing just as much as our students are. I imagine that can be a really attractive value proposition to a parent with many more options, with a parent who has many more options today than maybe they did 5 or 10 years ago.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Dr. Lina, you're in regular communications with dozens of school leaders across Egypt, and I'm wondering what about what Dr. Salma and Dr. Ahmed have shared is common amongst the different schools that you serve.
Actually, it's very common. It's in our recent MSA survey, the most common motivations for pursuing accreditation were the desire to strengthen university readiness, build a strong internal culture, and enhance strategic direction. In the survey, school leaders and school principals consistently shared that they chose MSA because it's globally credible, is strategically developmental, and personally supportive. One school, if I may name, at a normal American college, for example, they appreciated that MSA supported both student outcomes and institutional alignment, not just one or the other. Schools also cited MSA's reputation, collaborative tone, capacity building approach as differentiators when compared to other accrediting partners. Leaders from one college, actually, Jake, highlighted that they were already accredited by another body, but sought MSA because it provided a more mission-aligned strategic path. And at Dover School, the push came from a desire to embed a culture of continuous improvement, not just compliance. Others, like New Capital English schools, were looking to ensure academic programs are aligned with international expectations and to foster community-wide accountability. So there was a clear interest in sharing in unifying staff and having around a shared framework and creating clearer systems to measure and document growth, especially for postgraduate pathways. All of these motivations align really closely with what Dr. Salma and Dr. Ahmed shared earlier.
Fantastic. I think there's so many opportunities I'm hearing that are bringing folks to this question of accreditation. One is around teacher performance. How do we help teachers get better? How do we help them learn so as to improve student performance? The sense of how do we stand out in an increasingly competitive marketplace? This question of how do we develop a culture of continual improvement in a way that is aligned with our mission and the vision of the school we would like to achieve? How do we measure growth? How do we get clear on that so that we can know whether we're moving in the right direction? All these sound like really powerful opportunities that would bring a school to this question of accreditation. Dr. Salma, I guess I'm really curious about what like specifically about MSA caught your eye. Was there something about our process? Was there something about the offering that really made you say, hey, I want to add MSA accreditation? I'm curious. Can you hear me, Dr. Salma?
I think self-assessment was one of the very important things that hit my eye. The rubrics and excuse me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. I think there's a bit of a lag.
Jake?
There's a bit of a lag, but we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so in the accredited, when I'm talking about MSA and accredited body, yes, it was there is no ready-made solution, but the rubrics of the self-assessment from the very first stage that lead us to a school improvement plan was very clear. The details were clear. In any accrediting body, Jake, there will never be a ready-made solution. And I will not hit the button to find the school in another stage. But the policies and the processes, the procedures and the indications, even the way how to measure things. I did not know how to measure if this is good or bad, or whether were to me a very important point that MSA guided us through this journey. And it was a long journey. And it took us time to know all these details. So yes, definitely, these were one of the very important points that, and I saw it in action when the visiting team came. But that's in a different stage. But your question is, before MSA starting the visiting, what was it? It was the measurements and the indicators and the processes.
The measurements, the indicators, the processes, and I'm also hearing the support, the support that the team was able to offer.
Correct. When we're talking about the kind of support of everybody engaged, the support of the MSA team in the candidacy, in the application timeline, and then in the pre-candidacy, and then in before the visit, and then during the visit. These are phases that we were not lost. I mean, once we had a question or we were not clear about a certain phase, there was someone who answered us and who backed on how to do such things, because the details needed such, support, and needed someone to guide us through the journey, and we did have that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I think one of the things that we pride ourselves on here at MSA is being the guide on the journey, and so I'm very happy to hear that you felt guided. You felt like you had someone that you could go to when you had questions or when things came up. That's exactly the hope that we have for all the schools we work with. So that's fantastic to hear. Dr. Ahmed, I'm curious. When you were kind of at the edge of this decision point of to go with MSA or to not go with MSA, what was the nudge that pushed you into choosing MSA for your school community?
Okay, I'll be very honest, and definitely what pushed us is, again, as I said in the first place, is again the internal, not feeling, the internal fire inside of us that actually pushed us to actually hold ourselves to a much higher standard. And the beautiful thing about it is that we saw that from the minute we filled in the application saying, hi, we're out there, we want to be part of MSA. The beauty of it wasn't an accreditation process. It was more of a collaborative consultation. It's from day one, we knew we had our partner for success. We knew that whoever is on the other side is actually on our team, like as if he or she is part of MASE, and he or she is actually working with us. And this feeling, it didn't just start from the early beginning, but it actually was very evident even during the accreditation visit, and how much, like, all the team, they actually went beyond what they're required to do to actually help us and to guide us across all different, not just standards, but to actually ensure that we're doing things as we should. Because again, let's be honest, other agencies out there or other accrediting bodies, they really don't care. They care about you paying the annual dues and paying X amount of dollars to emboss the transcripts, and it's more of a business. But the fact that MSA has this non-profit angle, it differentiates it big time, because again, we know we're working with a partner who doesn't really care about the money as much as the body cares about the quality of the education we're offering our students, which means that this partner is actually on our side. They will be there through everything. They will ensure that whenever we face a problem, I'm sure they'll be the first one to actually guide us to ensure that we go out of this problem. So the beautiful thing is this sense of not just belonging before we were even part of the organization, but we felt we're welcomed. We felt that, don't worry, whatever you don't know, we will help you. We will ensure that you get it. And again, this takes me to the communication point. It's very important. Whenever WhatsApp, email, I'm sure if we were like doing this 20 years ago, sending normal letters, you would actually reply within a day or so. So it's the level of commitment from MSA representatives, the level of commitment from everyone. Although technically they are volunteers, they're not getting anything. They're donating their time. But again, these are people who genuinely care, not just about us, but about the entire educational process, not just in Egypt, globally. And this is why MSA is highly perceived globally. Again, MSA is the gold standard of accreditation. That's it, period. Yes, there are other agencies, but none is as good. And this is what attracts actually schools or schools that take themselves seriously to be part of MSA. Because again, the process is not easy, let's be honest. But if you take it seriously, it will be like a walk in the park.
Wonderful. I think, Dr. Ahmed, what I'm hearing that's really resonating with me is the shared sense of purpose, in a way, of believing in the power of education, wanting to see education grow and improve and become better for students, not just in Egypt, but also around the world. And that kindles something in someone, right? That's not just about a business. That's about a shared sense of mission, a shared sense of purpose, a shared sense of what can become possible for students when we all work together. Which is wonderful to hear, along with this sense of collaboration, this sense of community that you felt being a part of the MSA process. Very, very powerful. Dr. Lina, as the guide for our Egyptian schools, for all of our international schools, I'm wondering, what is your approach? What is your philosophy? How do you start to answer this question of how can I guide a school in a way that feels empowering without being overly prescriptive? Oh, you're on mute, Dr. Lina.
Sorry. I said very good question. I mean, it's in leading the schools and helping the schools, being through accreditation. I ensure, or we ensure, that they are not alone. Whether the school is just beginning to reflect on improvement or already charting a path of innovation, we will meet you exactly where you are and walk with you, walk beside you, because that's the kind of partnership we believe in. MSA isn't about fitting into someone else's mold. Like Dr. Ahmed and Dr. Salma said, it's about helping you deepen your own identity, your mission, your values, your goals for your graduates, and aligning those aspirations with everyday practices. And I want to tell the schools that no school's journey is the same, and we honor that. Excellence looks different in every context. MSA will help you define what it means in yours with purpose and confidence. And in answering your questions for the question that you've asked Dr. Ahmed and Dr. Salma, is that the support we'll give and that the schools they receive is personal, is professional, and is consistent. They won't be left guessing whether it's pre-candidacy conversation, clear templates, help for exemplars, or direct coaching. MSA will provide clarity and care. And I've asked actually the surveys, many surveys, school leaders, they tell us trust the process, and I love it. Yes, trust the process, because the process itself becomes a vehicle for discovery and transformation. I mean, several colleagues offered advice worth sharing, and I'm not going to mention the name of the school, but I will mention the advice for the schools. Work from day one as if the visit is tomorrow. Some said engage all stakeholders and use the standards as a living roadmap. Don't see it as a destination, see it as a dynamic cycle of growth. Journal the journey, because your school will evolve in ways you didn't expect it. I mean, so if you're wondering whether this journey is worth it, yes, it will challenge you. It is rigorous, but will also empower you, and you will not be alone. So yes, I mean, my advice to all the schools is that you're going to have help and support so that you can have voice change.
Wonderful. So I guess what I'm hearing is this process is intensive, but there's support along the way, support every step of the way, right? The sense that things that are really worth having sometimes take hard work, but that MSA is your guide on that journey. You don't have to do it by yourself, which is fantastic to hear. Dr. Salma, I would love to return to some of the opportunities you shared with us at the beginning of the conversation. You shared that what really piqued your interest about working with MSA is this opportunity to increase teacher performance and to stand out in an increasingly competitive marketplace. And I'm wondering, how has your MSA accreditation helped your community do those two things? Well, and I think you're on mute, Dr. Salma. Oh, I think, Dr. Salma, I think you are.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. I was just saying that the plan to grow and the plan for Okay. Your question was, how would this fit the plan for growth and improvement, which focuses on two main areas. The first being the student performance and the goals and the learning outcomes. And the second part is the organization capacity objectives. When they look at the plan, the first time when we got our accreditation, we were growing. So with the organization capacity objectives, how are you going to fit those students? Where? So, let's see the third floor. Let's see the extension. Let's see an annex. This time, this year, the second time when we had our visit, the organization capacity objective were what is spread over, phases, over resources. How are you going to? So these were all very important points. One of the very important points also, Jake, was that governance. I think when we had the visit, in Arabic, I always said, كان في اهتمام. I'm going to translate it, but this is what we all said. بصنع القرار في المدرسة. Decision making at the school, governance and decision making. This was something new that we did not see prior to our MSA. And to us, this was very important on moving and transitioning to the second line, being able to take decisions at different capacities. And for example, one of the very valuable things also was being able to open positions that we did not see at school. For example, one of the recommendations was that you should have a dean of students where there were bits and pieces spread all around the school. We are going to put them together under one umbrella. And this, to us, it was just like a magic wand, because between discipline and the supervisors and the psychologists and the counselors, these were different areas that did not have one focused management. So these are all, as you were just saying, how did this help us? How did this open possibilities in different domains? It definitely did in various domains, whether in learning outcomes, whether in the school or the objectives for the organically in decision making and the process of decision making and the process of changing leadership, which we're currently in this phase.
Yeah, that's very powerful. That's very powerful. I think the sense of being able to see real improvement in student performance.
Let me add one more.
Yeah, please.
What also clicked to us was the details of the questions during the visit. For example, we call it in Arabic التربيطات. How did you manage to, align these different standards and scopes and sequence and vision and mission together? So they took the logo and they managed to ask the question, how do you see this related to your mission and vision or to the philosophy of the school, or things as simple as that, the master plan or the school improvement plan or the strategy for the coming 3 to 5 years. Thank you, Jake.
So, I mean, that's wonderful to hear, Dr. Salma. It sounds like there were a lot of things that you hoped to get out of the accreditation process that you did when it comes to student improvement or kind of organizational growth and development. But it sounds like there were also some things that you didn't expect to get out of the process that you got. Things like, oh, actually, maybe there's an opportunity for us to reorganize how we structure who's responsible for student well-being. That's something maybe you didn't anticipate getting out of the process, but I can only imagine how incredibly valuable that would be. So that's wonderful to hear. Dr. Ahmed, earlier you spoke about wanting to wanting to be able to differentiate your schools, to stand out in that competitive marketplace, and to really inculcate this culture of continual improvement. How are we learning? How are we growing? How are we constantly getting better? And I'm wondering how did the MSA accreditation process help you achieve those two things?
Sure. Before answering your question, let me reflect on what Dr. Salma
Please.
said. I remember our chairperson of the visit, one of her first points that we discussed was the succession plan. So definitely, again, this highlights how important governance is for again, not just for MSA, but also for the institution. So that's just to reflect on Dr. Salma's point. As for us, definitely, it helped us, and the beautiful thing about MSA is that you don't need to wait for decades or 7 or 8 years to see some tangible results. In our case, literally the following year, we saw actual and tangible results. So for us, we had many quick wins. Of course, there are other aspects that will take time actually to see and reap the actual benefits out of it. But there were so many quick wins, and it was very obvious, for example, in the stakeholder surveys that we conducted. It was very obvious how all different stakeholders are actually more satisfied with this academic year than the last academic. Again, they were satisfied, but this year they are more satisfied. So again, what is the variable that changed? Again, it's MSA's let's put it that way, help, MSA's consultation, MSA's accreditation. Again, it helped us fill in the gaps, fill in the blanks, mind the gap, call it whatever. But it helped us to actually be on the right way. It helped us to, again, we were already on the right way, but it helped us to actually move faster and to ensure that we tie all the knots, and to ensure that we're actually progressing steadily and fast, to ensure that we keep our edge when competing with our competitors. So again, also another point where the impact is shown is, again, increase in enrollment. This year, actually, we had an increase in the enrollment, and it's something that actually happened, and it's represented in numbers. It shows, as they say, numbers don't lie. So it's definitely very important on so many different levels. Not definitely governance is important, but also from the business side of things, which is also as important as the academic part. Again, we can see that MSA had a positive impact on the business itself.
That's fantastic. This idea that, you know, in your instance, continual growth, it was data based, right? You were able to say, like, we can see this, we can see this in enrollment numbers, we can see this in the survey results, right? Which is fantastic, right? This is not something kind of like amorphous, right? But you can actually look very clearly at the concrete numbers. This is a worthwhile return on our investment, both in terms of capital and in terms of time, which is wonderful. It's fantastic to see. Dr. Lina, I'm curious, what are some of the unexpected benefits that many school leaders don't anticipate they will experience when they start the process, but that through the process they realize, oh wow, this is really powerful, and I didn't initially anticipate this?
Good question. I think it surprises schools just how transformative the process really is. Many school leaders begin their accreditation journey with goals like strengthening university pathways or gaining international recognition. But what actually unfolds goes much deeper. One thing I've heard repeatedly is how accreditation brings people together, not in surface level way, but in a real, meaningful, we're all in this together kind of way. One school actually leader told me it was the first time our entire staff were aligned around one direction. That sense of shared purpose, it's powerful. And others shared how it unexpectedly changed them, how the process made them more reflective, more intentional as leaders. Someone even said, I didn't expect it to reshape my leadership style, but it absolutely did. That kind of growth isn't on the checklist, but it's on one of the biggest outcomes. And what really stood out from the survey that I sent recently to all our MSA affiliated school is they collectively said how practical the impact is. School mentioned how the action plan, like Dr. Salma said, it became a life tool, not something shelved after a visit. It became a driver for real change. Some described it as a mirror, helping them spot strengths they hadn't named and areas they've overlooked. A few leaders gave very down-to-earth advice. Like I said, journal the day-to-day and work as if the visit is tomorrow. That tells you everything. It's not just a process. It becomes a part of how the school breathes really every day. So yes, while people may start with external goals, what they often discover is internal transformation. And to me, that's the magic of it. MSA accreditation doesn't just raise standards, it lifts people. It gives leaders, teachers, and communities the space to reflect, align, and grow altogether.
Wow, I was quite struck by this sentence you just shared, that they come with external goals and they leave with a broader sense of transformation. Sure, they're able to do things like open up university pathways and increase enrollment, but there's a deeper sense of transformation that's going on, right? This transformation of how do I reimagine myself as a leader? How do I develop a new definition of what powerful teaching and learning looks like, right? How do I bring my community together around this shared vision rather than having these different factions around the community? Really, really powerful stuff. Thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Lena. I think one impact we haven't touched on too much that I know that folks are curious about is the role of MSA accreditation in the postgraduate opportunities that students have access to. And so, Dr. Salma, I'm curious, what impact has the MSA accreditation had on the opportunities that are open to students who graduate from your school? I think you're on mute, Dr. Salma.
Yes, I'll try to compare this with, for example, someone applying with IB, as in other diplomas. Just as IB is highly recognized in universities and in Ivy Leagues, also MSA accredited schools are looked at differently. It's, as I was just speaking earlier, the cluster of schools that are MSA accredited are different from those who are mainstreamed. And hence, this is also seen when applying at universities, even during employment. It's a standard that is above the normal mainstream accrediting organizations. And to us also, to schools, this is one of the reasons why we want MSA to accredit our schools. To give, as I was just saying, it's also part of a marketing tool. If someone asks me, why would I go for an MSA accreditation? I mean, there are various reasons. One of them is, as we were just saying, not only about branding and reputation, and as Dr. Ahmed Fayed was saying, the golden jewel of, what's the word that you use, Dr. Ahmed? You use the terminology, MSA being the
golden standard.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the word. That's the word. So yes, it does distinguish not only at the university level and at accepting at different university. It puts the school at a different standard with a different brand. A cluster like Ivy League or MSA accredited schools here in Egypt, it's not a lot. It started with very small number, with very strong schools. As I was just saying, when I was accredited in 2015, 16, we started the process 15, I took the accreditation 16, there were 6. By the time I did it, it took me 1 year, I was the 8th. So now I know it's increasing with more schools and with more people wanting this MSA to make a difference because of the competition, as we were saying, but definitely not. I can not only say that the self-assessment, technical, as I was just saying, technical recommendations that MSA team gave us during their visit, marketing and branding, and putting the school in a circle or in a group of schools that are relatively at a different place. Even financially, when we say MSA, you're giving a strong service and a very good service, yet at the same time, you're not the most expensive. There are other less and mediocre whose annual fees are higher and whose services are much less than MSA. So even the timeline duration, remember when we were at the minister's office and he said 7 years is a lot, let's make it 5 years. And again, as Jake, you were saying, with a representative of MSA here in Egypt, an annual visit to these schools also make a huge difference during these 5. Dr. Lina was mentioning about having an MSA representative in Cairo or in Egypt visiting the school annually, even if it's not for accreditation, it's just for follow-up and for support and for guidance and for, you're doing this right, you've improved. This by itself will put MSA not only for university admissions, but also on many different levels, as I was saying. Thank
Wonderful.
you, Jake.
Thank you very much for sharing, Dr. Salma. I love this idea of standing out in a crowded marketplace, not just for parents and for families, but also for universities, right? That an MSA brand will give a student a competitive edge, especially if they're coming from a place with a lot of different applications. Dr. Ahmed, I saw you came off mute. Did you want to jump in there as well?
No. I just wanted to say that again, the presence of a representative in Egypt, I think it will be such a critical point for the transformation of MSA, not just in Egypt but across the region. It will definitely make, or I believe that the presence of this representative will be kind of a reason of why the standard of American education in Egypt can actually be much better than that. Now it's good, but it can, again, there's room for improvement. So I believe that the presence of a representative will have, again, a direct impact on the entirety of the American education in Egypt.
Wonderful. Well, when myself and Lina and Mr. Christian Talbot, our president and CEO, met with the minister in February, one of his biggest recommendations was open an office, right? If you're serious about supporting this market, you need to be here. And we took that advice, and we're very, very excited that this is going to unlock so many more opportunities to find schools and school leaders that have this shared sense of mission and vision and purpose of what might education be, and how might we collaborate more closely on moving towards that shared vision. I would love to turn to a few questions here that we have in the chat. One is coming from May Kamel, and May shares, how can schools effectively communicate the value of MSA accreditation to families unfamiliar with international standards? I think it's a fantastic question. And I would love to hear from you, Dr. Lina, as someone who has led an MSA accredited school, as someone who works with all of our schools that are going through the MSA accreditation process, how might you advise May on this question?
Good question, actually. Communication is the key. The key to all stakeholders. I would say in your newsletters, through your activities, when you meet through PTSA, have a 5-minute presentation about the value of accreditation and your mission, vision, and values, and how it helped you being the best school that you are. One of the schools weekly newsletter, and he copies me, and it's amazing. It's a weekly newsletter to parents with links to their students' work, to their students' activities. So you communicate effectively what you think is the value of MSA. How did MSA affect you? What was the impact of accreditation? That you can communicate through your website, through your policies, through your procedures. It can be communicated through your staff. And always, I believe, honestly, the best marketing is the marketing of word of mouth. Because if your stakeholders, if your students, your staff are happy, they will be talking about the school. And unfamiliar with international standards, you can actually tell them each time. You can explain standards in a story and say, this is actually standard and this is how we met it, and you advertise yourself. It's a marketing. I hope that answered your question, May.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Lina. Dr. Salma, as an individual who's actively leading an MSA accredited school, I'm curious how you all have tackled this challenge that May has highlighted.
Well, to the Egyptian parents, they really don't know the difference. And to the Egyptian parents, whether it's MSA, whether it's New England, whether it's Cognia, whether it's X, Y, and Z, it doesn't ring a bell to them. And this is our duty, to be able to show them that having an MSA means that your child is in a better school, and his and the learning outcomes are clearly monitored, and they are followed by, and they are measured by clear, definite KPIs. A session with the representative of the new representative in the MENA region, who will be in office here in Cairo, can also be in one of those meetings with the parents to show them that this school is different because they met 1, 2, 3 the highly standards in a different in a much higher standard than the normal. But in actual fact, just to say the truth, currently, an Egyptian parent will not know the difference. It is us as leaders in these schools that we want better teacher performance in order to get better student performance, in order to get better learning outcomes. I can't think of other ways other than what Dr. Lina mentioned, how to pass this, the value of MSA to parents. And sometimes we really needed to communicate that. The question that Mrs. May Kamel asked right now, it's because sometimes we want to tell the parents, hey, we are different. We are doing things in a better way. We are MSA accredited. But it's, so what? What's MSA accredited? What's other? So we have to find, as I said, word of mouth, as Dr. Lina was saying, more about the standards and about the KPIs and about the visits and about learning outcomes with MSA. Thank you, Jake.
Jake, there's a good question by Mr. Nabil, if you want us to answer.
Sure. I guess before we do, I guess Dr. Salma, what I'm hearing is there's this deep sense of empathy with the parent, to think about, what does the parent care about? They care about growth. They care about rigor. They care about opportunities being open for their children, and then framing what it is the MSA accreditation process offers in those ways. I think that's what I'm hearing, more than leading with, oh, this is the accreditation, these are the standards. They may not know, they may not understand what that is, and that may not be the most important thing to them. And so I'm hearing this opportunity for greater empathy, and then framing around what the parents care most about. So thank you so much. Thanks so much for sharing that. I think we have a question. We have a question from Mr. Nabil Kaldus. If a school is applying for accreditation, why would they choose MSA? And I think it's a wonderful question. I think we've been talking a lot about it, but I think this question offers us an opportunity to succinctly say, if you only had one sentence answer to this question, Dr. Salma, Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Lina, what would you share? Why a school should choose MSA? Maybe
in one sentence.
Yeah.
In one sentence. And
in
Dr.
one
Ahmed,
sentence. I have 5 reasons, maybe,
yeah.
but I can put it in one sentence.
One sentence, not a big long sentence, just one.
Why would they
now
choose
it will be
MSA
a paragraph
for academic? It's a summary of the past hour, actually.
That's good.
So
Okay.
it's for academic reasons, for technical reasons, for branding and marketing reasons, for financial reasons. These are the five main highlights why I choose MSA. I will stand out. I will have a brand. I will be part of an IV MSA accredited schools. I have a self-assessment with a committed professional team. During the visit, what is different actually is that the team is larger than any other team we had from any other organization. And to us, the diversity of the team said a lot. This was something that stood out compared with the two other accreditation we had. They were larger in size. They were 5 or 6, I can't remember. It was a diverse group and a diverse group and a committed group from different. So yes, I can. This was more than one word actually. But
A compelling sentence, nonetheless. Thank you so much, Dr. Salva. Dr. Ahmed, over to you. If you were to summarize this into one sentence, what might you say to someone?
I think again, it's very simple. It makes your school a much better school. That's it. Period. And again, it's something that you will actually see its results right away. And on a more business side of things, again, it's much cheaper than other competitors. Again, it's much cheaper to emboss your certificates and transcripts. It's much cheaper for your annual membership fees. Again, this is important. When you have hundreds of students that you need to do that on yearly basis, eventually you save. It's much cheaper actually for the accreditation process itself. So again, if you're looking at that, again, it's much cheaper than the other competitors, and it's as fast. The time frame, it's the same, and it makes you a better school. So why not? Again, the question is why would I go for another accrediting agency? It's much faster, it's longer, and it doesn't hold you. And eventually, again, and the nice thing with the MSA, you will eventually get it.
Yeah.
Because they will be there to ensure that you get it. So why not go for MSA? That's the question.
Actually, I think, Dr. Ahmed, maybe sometimes when you do not get it, it could be better. Because it doesn't necessarily mean, what you're saying, Dr. Ahmed, is absolutely correct. But sometimes you need to show that you do not accredit everyone, and that there are some schools will not be offered this privilege of being an MSA accredited school because they do not deserve it. So no, they will not eventually get it if they do not meet the standards properly.
Exactly,
and
that's
this
the
is
thing,
what
when they meet the standards.
MSA branding.
Can I add something?
Mind you,
please, Zainab.
عارف يا أحمد علشان
Okay, I'm gonna add, actually, all what was said was amazing, but we're here to inspire wise change in schools. And I think, yes, we are rigorous. Yes, we are. It's benchmarked against global best practices. But what makes us really stand out is how deeply humane and contextual we are, the process is. And we are not just one way to do it. MSA offers 3 different accreditation pathways, depending on where your school is in your journey. We have one pathway for schools who are starting out. We have another pathway for established schools that want to go and focus on planning and driving continuous improvement. And we have another one for schools ready to go even deeper for that. And other than accreditation, we offer even more. We help school lean into the future, whether it's exploring RAIL, responsible AI in learning, embedding social emotional learning, strengthening governance and special needs, or leading with adaptability in complex world. We are the best. I'm biased.
Yeah, I think a lot of not quite a sentence, but a lot of really compelling reasons. I'm so grateful to the 3 of you, and I kind of as we kind of bring our time together to a close, I would love to share just a few things that are standing out for me, that are coming through very clearly in this conversation. I think for me, the first thing is that MSA accreditation is about wise change. It's about transformation. It's not about ticking boxes and jumping through hoops. It's about transforming an educational institution into a better version of themselves. And that happens through data-backed external goals and through an internal transformation about understanding more deeply what it means to be a leader of a school community, about how the entire community is structured, right? And so this opportunity for transformation feels really, really important. The second is that this process helps schools stand out, right? Stand out because of the ability to join a brand that works with 3,200 schools in 117 different countries and has been operating for 135 years. But also an opportunity to stand out because of the practices and processes, right? This sense of continual improvement that will always lead to an organization standing out and becoming better. So I think that opportunity to stand out really feels important. And finally, the sense of like a guide on the journey, someone who's going to walk with you every step of the way, who's going to know you, value your educational vision, and not try and force you into a box, right? One of the things that I think a lot of schools really appreciate is our opportunity to be flexible in terms of the evidence they provide that demonstrates competency in the standards, which is something that I think is very important to us, that honoring your educational vision while helping you strengthen it and improve it in ways that make sense for you. So transformation, standing out, and always having a guide on the journey are things that are really resonating with me. I know we're a little bit over time, so unfortunately, I'm gonna bring us to a close. Dr. Salma, Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Lina, thank you so much for sharing your time, your stories, your wisdom with us, for making what I think is a strong invitation to anyone viewing this, anyone on this call, to join us in this shared sense of educational mission and vision and purpose to really reimagine what a great education can be for an Egyptian student, and then to take tangible steps in community with others to move in that direction. So thank you so much to the three of you, and I look forward to continuing the conversation in other channels. Folks who are watching, if you're curious to learn more about MSA accreditation, we would love to connect with you to learn more about what's most important for you. And please, in the follow-up email that I send, I will share a link to my individual calendar if you'd like to set up a call for us to have a conversation about what's most important to you, what an MSA accreditation might make possible for you and your community. Would love to connect. So thank you once again to everyone, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake.